Oh, I am a huge fucking nerd. That's right, I'm a huge fucking nerd. I like lots of books and computers, 'cause I am a huge fucking nerd.
One-of-a-kind shades made to order by Vaporshades.com. Vaporshades designs the outer layer of the sunglasses just like a wrap on a car. They customize your sunglasses, marbling the paint. The end result is no two pair of sunglasses are alike. Yours will be completely unique to you. Check us out at Vaporshades.com. Use promo code Tuddle for 15% off your entire order. Get ready for your daily dose of Tuddle.
The all-time greatest intern/producer we've ever had, of course, Tuddle. Tuddle in Florida.
From the Vaporshades Hobo Fish Camp, it's the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
No wonder nobody likes you, Tuddle. Everything's a goddamn debate.
Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Tuddle Daily Podcast. I am currently waiting on an interview to give me a call here. And I'm going to come up with this policy. I'm going to come up with this policy where if you're a nobody, because I think my producer Vulture, and it's actually a smart idea. I used to do it all the time, that I would sign up for these booking services. I would get some really, really great guests on. And there's a lot of people that maybe is starting a podcast, whatever it may be. They want to come on and promote their stuff. Now, it hasn't happened that much, but there have been some of these people that have no call, no show. And I gave them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm done doing that. Like, I seriously am. It's not like you're an A-list or even a B-list celebrity. So why am I going to give you a second chance that you're going to no call, no show? And I don't want people to think that I am this just big time radio guy, that I think I'm a big shot. No. But I'm kind of doing you a little bit of a favor to have you on my show to be able to promote your stuff. You know, like I've done all of these different podcasts, and it might be small podcasts, but I've never no called, no showed on people. And I just, it's unprofessional, and it's going to give you a bad name. If you guys want to check out my stuff, go to my website, Tuddle.net. I mean, that was a horrible segue, by the way. Like, I got whiplash going from that one conversation to promoting myself and being a shill like Joel Osteen or something. But yeah, go to my website, Tuddle.net. That's Tuddle with two Ds, TUDDLE.net. There's a couple of ways you can get a hold of me. Very easy. You can email me, Tuddle@gmail.com, or you can leave me a voicemail. I want to start getting some more voicemails. I cannot take phone calls right now. And there's some of those radio guys that think, oh, the people that use phone calls too much, take too many phone calls, that's a crutch they're relying on. No, I believe the complete opposite when it comes to that. Because if you look at any of the other broadcast mediums, they don't have the balls to take live phone calls. I think that's what makes talk radio so great, is that we have the balls to take live phone calls all the time. Do you think you're going to see like anybody on the local news take live phone calls? No, because they're not good on their feet. And just because, here, I'll give you an example. One of the best shows that I ever worked on, the show that I had the most fun on, was In Your Face with Drew Garabo. And it was a short show. We only did like an hour and a half every single day. But I swear to God, we would take phone calls, just rapid fire, call after call after call after call. And it was Drew arguing with people, and it was brilliant. It was amazing. So what I'm trying to say is, I can't take phone calls right now, but you can leave me a voicemail, 407-270-3044. Once again, that is 407-270-3044. I'd love to hear from you. I would like to hear from you because I want to start giving you guys topics to be able to call in and talk about. For example, I ended up making about $150 today DJing. And now by DJing, I wasn't mixing or anything. They just wanted me to make a playlist of love songs. And I think I made a really, really good playlist. But I would like to hear from you guys. What do you think is one of the greatest love songs of all time? What would you have put on the list that I put on there? And I wish I could go over it, but right now I'm actually recording on my phone, so I can't look at that. So what I'm trying to say is I would like to hear from you. 407-270-3044. What type of songs would you have put on a playlist for a wedding? Because that's what I did. I picked out a playlist, got all the music for this wedding, and then they wanted me to video the whole thing, and I videoed it, and then I did a big-time photo shoot. And I got to tell you, my pictures during this pandemic, I've been learning about doing videography and photography, and I got to tell you, I'm not trying to suck my own dick, but the pictures I took today were pretty goddamn amazing. And maybe I'll share some of those depending. I want to ask the bride and groom if that's okay. But I made some money doing that. You know, like I am making connections with a lot of people producing things. You know, last year I did Naomi Bradshaw. I did 2 videos. Music videos with Naomi Bradshaw. Now, were they perfect? No, they weren't. But last week I talked about getting my hair cut with Bezo, Colton's friend. How he makes his money is shooting hip-hop artists in their music videos. And he does really well. And the guy thought I did a great job on the videos that I shot. So I'm trying to branch out, doing some producing, doing some creating, doing some writing. There are some businesses that want to hire me to help them out with their social media and stuff. And now it's getting to the point because I don't think you guys realize this right now, but this is the longest period of time since I started in radio that I've been out of the business. And about 3 or 4 months after Bubba fired me through text, and that's not a dig. I just bring that up because that was the first time that's ever happened to me before. I got fired through text. I mean, you would like to be fired in person, but at the very least, you would like to be fired through audio over the phone. But no, I guess I didn't mean enough, and I only deserved a text. Hey, before you drive over on I-4 across the state, we're going to go in a different direction. That was the text that I got. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't even know. I lost my goddamn place. Should not have hit the vape pen before I got on. But what I'm trying to say is that I'm branching out now. This is the longest amount of time that I have ever been off the radio. And now I'm getting to the point because, guys, listen. I'm having a great time doing this podcasting stuff. And you want me to be honest of what makes me feel comfortable about my decision of doing this podcast is Michael Sharkey. Michael Sharkey, who is a big-time programmer in terrestrial radio, worked with Cox Media Group, the second biggest broadcasting conglomerate here in the United States. And he even saw the writing on the wall, got out of radio, and is now coaching people on podcasts. Go to his website, yourpodcastcoach.com. So that made me feel good about it. And I'm seeing the gains. I know I sound like a musclehead working out in Venice Beach or something, but that it is true. I am seeing the gain. Am I going to be able to survive on this? No, hell no. Not at this point. But, you know, the thing that I can say the most about having Vulture as my producer is that the guy is very business savvy. And that's something that I've never really, really been good at. I just want to do the content. I just want to make people laugh. I want to entertain them. And Vulture has been able to help me where I can do that. And I'm picking up some great contacts is what I'm trying to say. And I think Vulture is the guy that's going to help me be able to get to that point. And it's going to be great. It's like, I would hope and pray that I'm going to be Vulture's lottery ticket. I hope that I am. I hope that this podcast, kind of even gets half of what Joe Rogan is. I'd be happy with that. Give me 6 figures and I'll call it a day. Not like I'm not going to walk away after just 1 year, but I mean, give me 6 figures that I'm making a year in podcasting and I will be happy. I don't live an extravagant lifestyle. And you know what? I'll split that bitch right down the middle with Vulture. 50-50. Here's my 50 bands. Vulture, here's your 50 bands. And we'll go our way. Not go our way, but we'll meet up once a year in a parking lot. I mean, we'll do the stereotypical Sopranos thing. It'll be a black briefcase. I'll open it up. And I won't go large denominations because I want the briefcase to look full. Like, I'm not going to go with hundos. I'm not going to go with the big face Benjamins. I might go with 20s because I think 50 grand in 20s would fill up a pretty good briefcase. And we'll meet somewhere in between and we'll do it in a parking lot. And we'll be like, hey, thanks for doing business. Thanks for helping me get to the top because I'm dumb when it comes to money. I'm dumb when it comes to business stuff. I just know how to do dumb shit on the air or on the radio. So it's kind of a great relationship. Really is. And if I'm just being honest, and I'm sure Vulture is listening right now, if this was a same-sex relationship, I would definitely be the bottom. Like, I would have no problem being the bottom, and Vulture can be the top all day. Even though he's got bad knees right now, I still think he could bring the wood when it comes to stuff like that. I'm just being honest. So that's why I'm saying I would definitely be the bottom in that relationship if we had to be. I just hope his knees would be able to keep up with because if I'm going to be the bottom, I'm going to be a complete whore and I'm going to be a slut. Like, I'm going to be like, yo, what's up, Vulture? Top Daddy. Top Daddy, are you ready, Top Daddy? Oh, yeah. Must have had a hard day at work. Let me help you out. See, because I would be just ravenous. I couldn't get enough of it. So I'm sure I'm making Vulture nervous. And I'm going to go to break because I'm done waiting on this woman that I'm supposed to have an interview with. So going to take a quick break. Be back in a few minutes. You are listening to the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
He's a nerd,
I've only been arrested one time.
a radio personality,
Professionally, I'm not in the best position that I've ever been in.
and hot talk satirizer.
You would think with everything that's going on, a Caucasian like myself wouldn't be able to randomly talk to an African American or a minority.
You're listening to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Wish you could have just flown and had your vehicle arrive a day or two later so you can enjoy more time doing what's important to you? Well, you can. Just give Starfire Transport a call. Let the professionals do the driving while you're flying. Starfire Transport specializes in RV and auto transport. They'll also haul watercraft from boats to PWCs, cargo trailers, and more. Service available throughout the continental United States. So don't wait. Call Brian today at 574-349-4193 or 989-751-6106 for your next move. 10% off for veterans past or present. Also, make sure to tell them Tuddle sent you for an additional discount. That's Starfire Transport.
All right, guys. So that interview that I was telling you guys about, he is here now. Right now, on with me is Brianna. It's Brianna, right? I just want to make sure because I hate butchering people's names.
No, it's fine. Everybody calls me Bri, but Brianna's
Bri.
like a really nicer sounding version of Brianna, so that's fine.
All right, I'm going to call you Bri. Now, Bri, I got to ask you. I was, you know, I'll admit, I was kind of stalking you a little bit on social media. Got a lot of tattoos there, and I got to tell you, you know, sometimes women overdo it with the tattoos, but like your tattoos are pretty damn cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I love tattoos. I'll probably overdo it. So that will happen. But yeah, I definitely.
Now, you have one like right in your cleavage there, right? Don't you?
Yeah,
I
I
think.
have a diamond right here.
What made
Yeah.
you go with the diamond in the cleavage area there?
Honestly, I was like 18 and had just had my daughter who was like a month old, and I was like pretty high on a lot of drugs because I got back on drugs.
Oh,
I'm
what kind of?
recovering. You have to
So
figure that out.
so what kind of what was your drug of choice there?
It was pills for quite a long time, and then it escalated to heroin after that.
Oh, so like were your pills are we talking the oxy? Because I'm in Florida and we get a lot of the oxys here. You know, the oxys are the big thing down here in Florida.
It was just any opiate. I mean, they all kind of do the same thing effect wise. So it was kind of
Yeah,
whatever
but
we
those
put our hands on. Opana is probably where our thing up here.
But those hydrocodones aren't shit though. Like for the people that are really in them, because they put that acetaminophen in it and stuff, and it's like, ugh. I've always found that to be kind of weird that they would add that type of stuff to the pain pills, like, you know, because if you take too much of that stuff, it's supposed to be bad for your liver and kidneys and stuff. And I never understood that. So let's stop talking about the depressing stuff. Bri, talk a little bit about the content that you have going on, because, you know, people that want to come on my show want to talk about the stuff that they're doing. And I'm very interested in the stuff that you're doing.
So I run a channel that's on YouTube and Facebook. It's called Breaking Chains, the Whitney Project. I am in recovery. I've been clean for 4.5 years. My sister passed away 2 years into my recovery and a year into her own.
Did that cause you to relapse at all? Because I'm sure that it would make me do that. Like, because I'm a year and a half with no booze. Booze was
awesome.
And I gotta tell you, it was tough, but the marijuana helped me stop drinking. And I know a lot of people, they get really upset because a lot of people want to call me out and say, "Oh, you're not really sober because you still smoke weed." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not drinking." What's your feelings on that?
I mean, I cannot tell you what works for you. I am totally okay with whatever works.
Oh, it's not about what works for me. I'm asking your opinion, like, you know, because
I think it's natural. I mean, I don't personally smoke pot, but I see a lot of people that do, and it works for them. And honestly, we give it in healthcare. I'm a nurse. We give it all the time in a pill, and it seems to help them with pain. I see a lot of addicts that have actually gotten off heroin or other hard drugs, you know, using marijuana. So personally, I don't think it's horrible, but some people are really bad addicts that when they smoke weed, it's not enough, and then they go out. So
but I mean, hear me out on this, okay? So like you work in the medical industry, okay? And I think that the pharmaceutical companies are a lot to blame. Now, people are responsible for what they're putting in their own body, okay? But what I'm trying to say is that the reason why we've not gotten legal, like, I think marijuana, I think anything that comes out of the ground, like mushrooms, or if you don't have to process it, if it comes out natural, I say have at it, okay? But the pharmaceutical companies don't want that because they want to push the very addictive pain medication on people. Do you realize that weed has so many benefits to pain medication? Like, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, so does CBD. I mean, if you're somebody who doesn't like the mental effects of weed, you can go and get CBD. And there are amazing benefits to CBD. I mean, it does help. At one point, I had like that vapable CBD. And it makes you tired, gives you a little bit of a body buzz, but it doesn't make you high. So it's like you feel good, you go to bed. I mean, does it work for 1,000 things for me? I don't have 1,000 things wrong with me. So for me, it made me go to sleep. But for other people, it works for joint pain. It works for headaches. It works for so many things. And
anxiety, PTSD. I interviewed. I've been talking to more and more military veterans that suffer through PTSD, that they can't smoke cannabis or any of that stuff, and I think that stuff is way better for you than these pharmaceuticals.
Yep, they drug test them. They go, oh, if you fail for pot, then you can't get your pain meds, and they hold them hostage that way because obviously they're going to withdraw if they come off the meds. And here's the thing, like these pharmaceutical companies, they take natural things like kratom or marijuana or whatever, and they patent it. And they say it's bad, and they put out all these things and push these, let's make it illegal, let's schedule it. And then they take it and they reform it and say they have the cure for addiction and it's synthetic so they can make their own money.
I mean, alcohol and cigarettes have killed maybe 100 times more than any that marijuana that's ever done. So I don't want people to think I'm getting into being the stoner show, but I've dealt with addiction. And everybody all talks about their rock bottom. You got to hit rock bottom before you want to make a change for yourself. What was yours? Like, was there that eye-opening moment that like made you say, all right, I got to make a change?
I mean, I guess my first real bottom. So I went to a treatment center in Florida, and I was basically
one of the worst places you could go because drugs are so easy to score here in Florida.
Well, the biggest thing with Florida is the Florida Shuffle. I got thrown in and I was trafficked through the rehab systems. And they will basically use you because, like, say you have insurance, you're under your parents. If you're under the age of 26, usually if you have private insurance, right?
My buddy Colton, it's funny. He grew up with a heart defect, okay? And there was one last surgery he had to get done before he was going to be completely okay. And, he was 25. He was about to get in that range where he wasn't going to be covered by his parents' insurance anymore. And they would not get the surgery done before the insurance ran out. And that's another racket that I could talk about for hours.
I know. That's a big thing. That's huge. And there's no policies, something happens with this whole rehab thing, and the epidemic started, and we had so many people with problems that there were no limitations to the way they build insurances. So, 4 or 5 years ago when this happened, it was like a free-for-all in Florida. Now this is happening in like California. But back at this moment in time, Florida was like the, recovery capital of the world, but also the rehab shuffle of the world. So they would take you, basically sexually assault you if you were unlucky. If you were lucky, you would get nice, and they would pay you to relapse, send you to a treatment center, then send you to another detox, then another, then another, then another. They would hold your stuff over your head. They would say they were going to pay you in money and then never pay you. It's a sick and disgusting method of making money, because we are a profit to them. We're basically like slaves. Like our insurance is written on our face. They don't care about us. They care about the kickbacks.
No, so, that I was in a mental institution for about 10 days. And that leads me to my next question, because I was around a lot of people that were dealing with mental illness, and it made me realize that there is a little bit of a connection between mental illness and addiction, because people that are dealing with mental illness self-medicate. They get on things because they are in so much pain, not physical pain, but they just want to escape the everyday just conundrum of things. Have you noticed that at all? Like, is there any correlation at all there?
Oh my God, that's like the biggest correlation. There are so many people who had a diagnosis that was starting in their early teens when they went through puberty, and they immediately began using. So they covered it up for such a long time due to trauma or whatever was going on in their life. Maybe they were just coming into their diagnosis and didn't know how to handle it. And then life goes on, they get clean and they have this like shiny new diagnosis and they don't want to believe it. But in reality, they've had it all along. And a lot of other people, they get on meds, they feel like they're better. Then they go get off their meds, think they don't need them, and then they're back on drugs. And they do this over and over and over again.
The only thing I really had a problem with was the alcohol. But I will admit, like, if I was hanging out with some people, like, I didn't actively search it, but like if somebody did have just a random drug, say ecstasy or an oxy or something, and they offered to me, I was going to take it. I wouldn't go out and search for it like I needed it. But what I'm trying to say is, the hardest thing that I've ever had to get off of was because I was on the mood stabilizing drugs. I'm bipolar manic depressive with OCD problems, ADHD, and getting the only medication I'm on a small dosage of Adderall right now, and I'm still, I'm working my way off of that. But getting off of the mood stabilizing drugs was one of the worst withdrawals that I've ever gone through in my life. It was horrible.
Yeah, they all have side effects, and that's the thing. When we think of withdrawals, like we think of opiates. You know what I mean? We always think of like those harder drugs that people.
Have you ever seen a true alcoholic? Have you ever seen a true alcoholic? Like, yeah. They say and correct me if I'm wrong here. Like they say one of the worst withdrawals is getting off of the benzos, like the Xanax and stuff,
alcohol and benzos,
or alcohol. Because you could die, like physically die from the withdrawals.
That if you have a heroin addiction and you come into a hospital and you're like, hey, I need treatment, and you don't have benzos in your system or alcohol, they will probably send you out.
Why is that?
Because they have a certain amount of beds. And if the alcoholic could die and the benzo addict could die, and they get paid more for those people because they are a higher risk for assessment and triage. So you become the person that loses the bed. So people have to lie and actually drink or literally take benzos to get in and then say that they're addicted to them when they're not. So therefore they get more meds while they're in there just so they could get in, and then they walk out being addicted to benzos.
My dad always said, and I kind of looked into this. He said, like, if you ever got really, really sick in the hospital or you didn't have insurance, he said, just go rob a bank or something. Like, don't physically hurt anybody, but just get thrown into prison, because they say the healthcare is amazing in the prison system. Like they take care of you pretty well there.
Really?
Yeah, no, they gotta take care of you, like for real. They're not just gonna let you sit there and die. But Bri, I want to get into this. So let's talk about your show, okay? Do you offer advice? Because like you said, what works for some people doesn't work for others. Do you have guests on? Do you share personal stories? Give me an idea of some of the things you do on your show.
So I started with interviews. That was the, main concept. My sister had passed away and I wanted to share, recovery stories as to how other people got clean, and maybe people that didn't even go to meetings, because I go to 12-step meetings. I don't go constantly, but I
Can I get into that? Because I've dealt with mental illness. Okay. I've dealt with childhood trauma. I've dealt with all types of stuff, and I've always stayed away from those meetings and stuff because I feel like I'm just going to get depressed hearing other people's and I'm not trying to be insensitive, bullshit and stuff. It's like, I have my own problems. I don't need to hear your problems.
If you've been to any, you need to go to the right ones, because the right ones are not like that at all.
Is there any hooking up? And that's another thing they always say, people will start relationships, maybe even sometimes physical relationships with other people in AA. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, that's huge. That's probably, it's always the new people.
Is that a codependency though? Is that almost kind of almost like a drug? Like you see what I'm saying?
They can't get high anymore, and they want to have sex because they can't get high, and their dopamine is so low that they'll do anything to feel good. So they immediately want love and affection and, you know, they
But is
crave
it real love, though? I mean, is it just going to, like, hurt in the long run? Is it going to be, like, you know, like it's good now, but, you know, in the long run, it's going to be bad.
9 out of 10 times, I would say it falls apart.
Yeah.
We're looking at most people relapse because they got in a relationship in rehab or in the meetings, and then they either one relapses and the other one just goes off and then does two, or the other one they break up and the other one dies or overdoses. It's a mess. It is honestly probably the worst thing you could do.
Have you ever had a hookup with somebody that you met in a meeting?
Yeah. Definitely a couple. And
a couple.
Yeah,
like you. Oh, I hope not at the same time.
No, this is a long time
okay.
ago.
All right.
When I first was in rehab, like I met my ex through a rehab center. Like he was in a older person's rehab and he was the youngest person there, and he was in his 30s and I was in like the younger group. So like we would see each other.
Oh yeah, he was a not like a predator, like child predator.
No, he was a predator. He's like a borderline psychopath, so that's fine.
Yeah, he saw you. He was like, look at this young gazelle on the plains of Africa right now, and he was the cheetah, just like laying back. He's like, yep, this is her first time. This is her first time trying to get off the drugs, and this is going to be an easy prey here. And I'm not trying to be offensive.
No, it was. I mean,
or anything.
That was that hard. I had a lot of guys talk to me, but like for some reason, I actually like.
I mean, you're attractive.
I really liked him.
But you're an attractive woman, though, so I can tell you, like, if I saw you at a meeting, I'd be like, hell yeah. I'd be like, I'm gonna go talk to her. I'd be like, hey, do you want to be my sponsor?
That happens a lot.
I'm sure that the thirsty guys have all got to be. You got to be the first one that gets that. Hey, can you be my sponsor?
It's always something like, can you give me rides? Can you do? You know, it's always something, and that's like where it's hard because I try to help people, but there is a very firm line there at this point in my life. Like I am with somebody, I have a boyfriend, and then he is in recovery too. So yes, I have another one. But, I did not meet him in meetings. So,
but I want to ask you about this, and I'm gonna have my producer send you a link. The thing that helped me understand addiction, and I know this is gonna sound really really stupid. How old are you, by the way, Bri? I know you shouldn't ask a woman her age, but I just want to kind of get an idea.
Yes, you can guess. That's fine.
I would say 32, 33.
Aw, that's really old. I'm 25.
Well, I mean, listen, I am actually 18, and look at how old I look right now. Like, you're talking to a teenager right now.
You're 18?
No, not really. I was trying to make a joke. I was trying to make a joke that I look rough because of all the drugs and alcohol and stuff. That would be great. Like, I'm the first teenager. But what I'm trying to say is, the Dick Cavett show. That's the only reason why I asked your age. Okay. Dick Cavett had Dick Van Dyke on. I hope you know who Dick Van Dyke is. No.
Did I lie? I mean, no.
No, just tell me the truth because it's going to be funny.
No, I don't know who that is at all.
Okay, Dick Van Dyke show. Anyways, I'll send you a link to it. He was a raging alcoholic. Okay. And he talks about how drugs not only change you physically, they change your brain chemistry. And how other alcoholics tend to gravitate to other alcoholics because that's your brain saying, hey, if you hang out with that person,
they think like you.
They're just like you, and they're not going to judge you whenever you want to have a drink. Is that true? Like, I mean, like.
I think it's subconscious. It's like
yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's like we feel the frequencies. We literally can walk in a restaurant and talk to the one person that's an alcoholic or an addict within 2 seconds.
Does it bother you?
6 cents.
Does it bother you to be around drugs right now? Like, for example, I was an alcoholic, but it does not bother me to be around
alcohol. I mean, I work in healthcare and I pass meds. That's what I do.
Have you ever been tempted though? Like, you know, I remember Nurse Jackie. that Nurse Jackie show.
No, I was never Nurse Jackie. But when I first started, I got my license the same day that my sister died, and I had been fighting the state. I actually had 32 charges at one point and stole $50,000.
Wait, so
was sitting in the jail.
So can I stop you for a minute? Like and the reason that I thought you were in your 30s is like you being a well-established nurse and stuff. Like, you know, like how did you get to where you are at such an age dealing with the issues that you've had? I hope you know that's the reason why I said.
No,
like,
I know. I was just messing with you. It happens a lot. It's for the same reason that you did. But I mean, I guess I was like really in a bad situation. I was looking at a lot of time, but
people don't think drug addicts are motivated though. Like,
no, they don't. And that's why, like, I was a straight A student. I did good. Towards the end, I started to fail because I was skipping school, and I still passed while skipping a grade. So I was always smart. And
did you ever do the Adderall? Did you for studying and stuff?
Well, I dated a guy that was on Adderall for years, and
I'm more of an upper guy. Like I
was always downers. I don't mind uppers, but I was never really into those. It was always like downers. I want to go to bed. I want to be out. Like I always wanted to be knocked the fuck out.
All right, so let me ask you. All right, so you did say you were on heroin, correct? Like
yes.
At one point, have you ever watched the movie Trainspotting?
Yes. In rehab.
So the reason that I bring that up, like. Danny Boyle, who is the director of that movie, a lot of people gave a hard time for kind of glorifying it a little bit, but like he also gave you some of those very, very like rough scenes to watch, like the death of the baby.
Yes, that wasn't that hard. It was horrible.
Yeah. Now let me ask you though. So try to explain to the person that's never done hard drugs, like the feeling. Like how would you describe the heroin? Like, you know, shooting it, because I mean it's a different step. Were you shooting or were you snorting? Like
I was shooting.
So you were shooting.
Yeah, I was shooting a fuck ton.
Now you would have to admit, like that's taking it to a whole nother level when you're willing to inject yourself. Now people inject themselves because it's a straight rush, right? Like I always say that there's no waiting on the runway. It's like you're just
right there.
So walk me through this, okay? So walk me through this with the heroin, and if you don't feel comfortable discussing,
I'm fine. I'll talk about anything. I'm good.
Okay,
with anything.
So like walk me through this. Like you get the drugs. So what's the process like? Or, you know,
I mean, at my worst, it was more or less like I would have to meet up with a guy, tell him I needed him to cash a check or something for me because my person I worked for wouldn't do it for me. They would cash it. It'd be bad. I would get the money, and then it would bounce like 6 days later. So this is like.
I hope I'm not going to offend you with this question, and I'm not saying,
No,
but
you're not. No, I was never.
Have you ever had sex for drugs? Is what I'm trying to ask. Like, did it ever get that bad?
No, it didn't. I had a boyfriend the whole time. So
Okay, and like I said,
yes, but no, I didn't.
All right, and like I said, I hope I didn't offend you, but I just,
no, I knew what you were going to ask. I knew exactly what you were going to ask.
Because you were talking about bounce checks, and people don't realize how addiction is, and it gets so bad, you do desperate shit to
you don't have to write bad checks if you're sleeping with guys, though. Like the thing was I would kind of flirt with them to give them maybe the idea that I would hang out with them or something.
Oh, okay. See, now I got to give you credit on that one. Like if you can work it without having to follow through, like then I give you all the credit in the world.
Exactly. That was the point. And I had a guy that I was actually my brother-in-law that I was seeing. That's a mess. But he was like a friend in our little circle, and he had a loan shark that we owed money to. So like we would go in and rob guys, and he would tell them that he was my brother.
Whoa. Hold. Wait. Back up here. Okay. So like you would be like the bait, like kind of like, you know, back up here. So you're talking robbing. So like what was your role to be played? Like you were the setup person, like you were the inside person?
I would talk to a guy that had money that thought I was cute, you know. I would tell him I was in this horrible position, I needed money. He would come with me, and when I would walk in the house, you know, that guy would expect to hang out with me. and see me, right? You know, if I'm going to give you this money, I expect to see you. And he would walk in after me and go, "What are you doing in here?" And then he would threaten the guy, and I would run to the bathroom and say I was sick. "Oh my God, I feel horrible. I need to go to the bathroom." And then
and then he would take care of it.
Yep. And then I'd
So did it ever get physical? Like, were there guns, weapons, anything like that involved? Or was it more intimidation?
It was with him. It was more intimidation. Really didn't need. He had weapons. Like he'd actually robbed a federal gun reserve and crossed state lines and was looking at 30 years in prison. And
Jesus Christ Almighty!
He passed away. But
hey, let me ask you, fentanyl. You know, that's really big right here in the state of Florida. And one of my friends that I know, he's actually had some people that he knew from high school that have died from fentanyl because they're mixing fentanyl in with the heroin and stuff down here now. Like, is that a big problem up in New York where you're at right now, or is it not?
Yeah, it's everywhere. There is no escaping fentanyl. Like our fentanyl rate is about, we'd say like 85%. Your guys' is actually a lot lower than ours. We have the best. I mean, they call it the best heroin around because it's strong, because it's fentanyl. And
but why are they cutting it with that though? Why though?
It's cheap. Think about it. You buy it online. You can get basically fentanyl online, like some weird Chinese version off the dark net, enough to kill like a whole population of a town for like $1,000.
At your highest, before you got on heroin, you were taking pills. Like, give me like a really, really bad day. Like, how many pills? Because the last show that I was on, like Kurt Angle, he's a wrestler, and I forget, but it was like, I think in the triple digits of how many pain pills he was smashing a day. Like, what were you up to?
Probably, I would say personally, if it was like the 10s, like the Vicodins, maybe like 40.
What about the perks? I mean, so you were on the perks,
40.
yeah.
If it was Opanas, it was like 10, 20. There were days where we just ran through them. Like, we didn't even count. We just kept going.
Now, do you like, when you're talking pain pills, are you going instant, or do you like the time release stuff? Because, you know, a lot of people with the oxys, you know, they put that coating on them.
Honestly,
so you can't.
It's been so long, I don't really remember all the things surrounding pills because I haven't been on pills now in probably like 8 years. I just
good
remember
for you.
We would always get like whatever was around because everybody had these scripts, and then they cracked down on the pill mills in Florida. So then they cracked down on us, and we couldn't get them anymore. So we kind of just got what we could get, and that's how we ended up on heroin because we couldn't get pills anymore.
Yeah, because it's cheaper though too, right? I mean, heroin is kind of a little bit more economically affordable.
It is at first until you're doing it more than a week, and then suddenly you're doing 50 bags a day.
How quick is the tolerance build up on heroin? Like,
I'd say like I went from doing a half a bag a day to I think a week or two later at least like 10 a day.
Whew, man.
I was snorting them at first, so like if you know what I mean, it goes up quick because you're snorting them. But then I it's not that I wanted to shoot it, but my ex was shooting it, and I was getting pissed because I kept telling him like, we're not junkies, you can't shoot that, like you're gonna die. And he kept lying and saying he wasn't. And I was like, all right, well then shoot me up. I'm like, if you really fucking don't care anymore, then do it. And he's like, all right, if you want to try it, you'll like it. And then I did it. And I was like, whatever.
Bri, I was looking at your Facebook page, and we have a familiar friend. How do you know Matt Mazur? Like he's up in the like Syracuse area. Like I was looking at common friends. Maybe you just guys randomly followed each other. But
I
he's
have
in
like
the
thousands of people on here, so it's hard.
Well, yes, I mean, you got a great, interesting story. So, Bri, before I let you go, and I do want to have you on again, because I could talk about this stuff with you, and I think a lot of people need help. The stuff that needs to be talked about. People don't want to talk about this stuff, just like they don't want to talk about mental illness.
I know.
You know,
that's a big thing too.
Tell people how they can check out your website, content, podcast, whatever it may be. You have the floor.
So I have a YouTube channel. It's called Breaking Chain, The Whitney Project. The semicolon is not written out. And also the same page is on Facebook where I do interviews, I do lives. If you need help getting into a free local treatment center that is ethical, I do this for free. So I hook people up with meetings, clinics, resources, whatever you need. We do online meetings every night from Pain to Purpose, and they're not like AA or NA. They're just like recovery. Yeah. So we do these all the time. And I do public speaking. I speak around the country. I
could see you doing a TED Talk. I think you would be good at like a TED Talk.
I think I'll get on there. I mean, I almost got on Dr. Phil, so I'll get on TED Talk.
No TED Talk. Yeah, Dr. Phil's a joke. So
I know he's
Before I let you go, you being a nurse, I want to thank you for all the work, especially during this pandemic right now. Can you give me a little bit of an idea? Like, is it as bad? Because you hear nurses, you hear other people talking all the time. Like, what has your experience been with COVID-19 right now?
I don't think it's that bad. My boyfriend got it, and he was fine. He was sick for about 4 hours, and then it was over.
But you also got to admit, like, the people that were saying all about, oh, it's just the flu. I
don't think it's just a flu. I think that if you have an autoimmune issue or you have, any type of maybe blood type that is not resistant to it, then you are going to have more issues than other people. If you're older or you're a baby, those types of people that have different immune systems from the rest of the population. If you are a healthy individual, probably between the ages of, say like 5 and we'll go like 50. Then reasonably, it's not going to be horrid for you. But there are cases of people that do get it really bad. There are people who have died. But I personally have not seen one person die. No one in the elderly homes has died. I think we've had maybe like 5 or 10 get sick, and they don't get tremendously ill here. So I don't know if we just have a lighter strain. But so far, I'm in that middle ground of, be careful, wash your hands, make sure if you come in contact with someone that has it, that you tell everyone, you want to alert people, because would you want them to be sick with anything? No. So that's my thing with it. I mean, we have to gear up and wear all these things, but at the end of the day, I think there is a lot of money schemes that go into that as well, because we see people labeling COVID on patients that don't have it.
From the Vapor Shades Hobo Fish Camp.
Man, maybe I would have way more sex partners in my life if I just threw caution to the wind.
It's the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Tuddle's Daily Podcast is brought to you by StitchYouUp.com. For your embroidery, screen printing, vinyl, and direct-to-garment printing needs, visit StitchYouUp.com. Stitch You Up specializes in custom caps, shirts, decals, and anything you want to personalize. Whether it's one item or large orders, they can handle any size. Unsure about what you want? Let Stitch You Up help you with your logo design. Visit StitchYouUp.com or contact them, Eric@StitchYouUp.com. Stitch You Up. Definitely not your grandma's embroidery.
Got a great guest on the line with me right now. My producer Vulture has been absolutely killing it, getting me guests. But on the line with me right now is Francis Warren. Hey, what are you up to, buddy? And where are you calling from? Because I love accents.
So I am calling from across the pond in York, the north of England.
Do you know I'm a big Anglophile? Like I love everything about the British culture. I'm a humongous football fan. Who do you support?
I'm actually not.
You're not a soccer fan. Oh,
no,
okay.
The rioting and violence that goes with our sport is not the best. I'm more of a rugby guy than a football guy.
Who do you support rugby wise?
It's an unknown team, so it's called the Wasps. The team in Ely, which is in sort of the southeast, and I also support the women's rugby team for York as well, because one of my colleagues plays for it, and you wouldn't mess with her for love nor money.
Yeah, no kidding. But Francis, so tell me a little bit about your podcast, your content, whatever you have out there right now, because like I could promote it, but I like to let my guests talk about it because it's their thing. It's their thing that they're passionate about. So you have the floor. Tell people how they can check out your content.
Marvelous. So I'll start off giving a little brief overview. So it's Purgatory is a different podcast than what you would expect from podcasts where it's either sort of one person talking about a discussory topic.
Now, why Purgatory? Why Purgatory? Everybody thinks Purgatory is a place that you go. It's not heaven. It's not hell. Why Purgatory?
So the story is about what happens to you as a teenager. It's a fiction podcast. It's an audio drama. And it's about what happens to you as a teenager and how it shapes you as an adult and your adult identity. And all the characters are still stuck with past teenage trauma
See, I was about to interrupt you because I've been doing a lot of interviews. And, like people, when they get older, they're wondering why they do certain things, why they're self-destructive, why they are the way that they are. And I don't think people take into account what childhood trauma does to a person and shapes them in the future. I'm a victim of trauma in my younger years. And I'm not making excuses about things that I do now, but it kind of makes sense of why I do the things that I do.
Exactly. And I think that's we wanted to make it universal. We didn't want it to make one person sort of struggling with their past. All the characters are in some way, shape or form. And they're different, and not necessarily trauma, but I always like to when I write a script, I like to start off with a theme, and I build outwards from the theme, because I feel with any sort of piece of fiction, be it a film, be it a piece of stand-up, if you don't have a theme or people can't identify with the theme, then it becomes it's really difficult to engage with. So
let me ask you though, Francis. So a lot of people live sheltered lives. Do you have to be careful of smacking people in the face with reality at some point? Because there's a lot of people that don't deal with things that other people have to deal with growing up. If it's class related, racial related.
Absolutely.
You got to be careful about some of that stuff because when I approach my podcasts and radio and stuff, there's certain news stories you just got to talk about, but I also like to do the type of radio that gets people their minds off of their problems. Is that something you worry about?
I think I agree with you. I think if you can, the show itself, it's not like depressing from start to finish. It covers some serious topics. We cover things.
And I wasn't saying that it was. It's just that people don't like, a lot of people are into the news, that saying if it bleeds, it leads,
Absolutely.
But there's just some people there's just some people that don't like to deal with that type of stuff. They just like to act like it doesn't exist.
And I think that's also how we kind of keep ourselves sane, because I think we one of the things I was sort of writing about and in the show is sometimes the lies we tell ourselves to explain away some of our abnormal behaviors.
Give me an example.
So one of the big storylines is a guy thinks that when he was a teenager that the love of his life ended up going out with his best friend, who they are now married to each other, and he is left alone. The character's called Peter, and he throughout the series does more and more extreme, borderline intrusive things to try and impress this one girl, Imogen, with it never being reciprocated. And he's got this idea in his head that he was in a romantic comedy and it is fate, and and he is the main character in his own film, and it has to work out because that's what he's seen. And
because he thinks he's the main character.
Absolutely, he thinks he's sort of the centerpiece of it, and not in an arrogant way, just in a very naive way.
But we've all done that. I know that I've done that.
Oh, me too. That's how I got the inspiration.
No, because I've always had this thought, like, we live in our own reality. Like, we think that nothing else exists inside or outside of the things we can't see or hear or feel. Do you get what I'm saying? Like nothing else is going on. The only thing that's going on in the world is our reality, if that makes sense.
And I think it's sometimes the beauty of storytelling is you can maybe get somebody out of their own headspace in a really safe way, where they can experience something outside of themselves. They may not necessarily have experienced in real life, but can live vicariously into a storyline.
What is the audience you're going for? Like who are the people that you're trying to touch? Who are the people you're trying to reach?
I think, to be honest, at the moment it's kind of anyone. Throughout making and recording this, because the whole thing was done during lockdown, and the whole no one's left their homes. We've all done it completely remotely from actors across the UK.
It's kind of bad right now in the UK too. I don't think a lot of people actually realize.
Well, yeah, I have a job. I also work as an ICU nurse. That's my day job.
Oh, you do.
So I get the.
Well, thank you for your frontline service.
Thank you. Well, it's me and lots of other people who are absolute. I've nurses have given up their holidays, their annual leave. They've worked 20, 30, 40 hours over contract. It's there's a lot of people working absolutely diligently.
And I know we're getting kind of off track here, but I'm kind of interested because, I went to the United Kingdom on a couple of occasions to see a bunch of football matches. I went up to because I'm a big Manchester United supporter. Went up to Manchester.
Okay.
I went to Wales. Spent a lot of time in London. I tried to get the whole and plus I'm a big Doctor Who fan. So I went to Wales. I went to Wales to see a lot of the filming locations. Yep. And I don't think people realize that the British culture it's a very social culture. Like people like to get together with their mates. They like to be with their friends, camaraderie and stuff.
Absolutely.
And how has it been hard, like adjusting for people? Because I know a lot of people are just going out and doing it anyway.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I know with my cast, it's a lot of them have said it's been the thing that's kept their sanity going making this, because the arts industry was obviously very affected with lockdown because public spaces, were shut down and you couldn't go to concerts or plays or, and the arts were really, really struggling. And so lots and lots of actors were out of work because you just couldn't do anything. And then so finding this way to do. But you guys also rely, see, I'm in Florida, okay? We rely on a lot of tourism. And I think the London area probably does. The economy relies a lot on tourism, or does it? Or where I live definitely does. I live in York, and its main source of income is tourism because of its historical significance. We get a lot of Americans come to York because it's old York.
Give me an idea where York is. Okay, so London is.
So if you take Manchester. So remember Manchester, and you go about maybe, and my geography's going to kick me now, probably about 50, 60 miles east of Manchester will be where York is, bit further north.
Why do the English like always, I'm not saying it's hate, but they always like to make jokes at the expense of the Welsh. What is that all about? Like, you know, like I've noticed that. Why do the English, you know, kind of like to make jokes at the expense of the Welsh?
So if you look at history before the United Kingdom was formed, there was three separate countries. There was Wales, Scotland, and England, and we were constantly at war with each other. And there are so many rivalries in such a small country. There are so many rivalries. You've got, you know, in where I live, York. You've got York versus.
Well, I'm a big Ryan Giggs fan. So that's you know, my favorite Welshman.
I'm trying to think,
Ryan Giggs is from Manchester United. So
have you heard of Rod Gilbert, the comedian?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites.
He does the small man in the box thing, or no?
Oh, that's Rob Brydon.
Rob Brydon. Yeah, Brydon. Yeah,
Absolute
because
genius.
I was a big fan of Gavin and Stacey. You know,
I was going to say that was my next one to say that's one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. It's Unashamedly Happy, which is very.
What do you guys think of James Corden being, you know, I mean, do people hate him because he's like,
you can keep him
Americanized? But no, I mean, I thought James Corden was great on Gavin and Stacey.
He was. I mean, it's just such a difficult thing. And I think maybe the issue with James Corden is the difference we have between American comedy and English comedy.
I've noticed here. Let me ask you. Okay, see, what I like about the British humor is that, see, because I worked in radio and I like uncomfortable situations. Like one of my favorite shows. Did you ever watch the British show In the Thick of It?
Yes.
With Peter Capaldi that played Doctor Who. That show, like, there would be so many uncomfortable moments in that show. And that's what I noticed about British humor. I was just like, yes, they love, you know, Ricky Gervais in the original Office. Some of the stuff that they would do would be so uncomfortable.
I think it's we don't like people succeeding because we don't believe it. And we just get annoyed. And I think there's a lot of American comedy where everyone's kind of rewarded and succeeds and they're living their best life. I think in the UK, our humor comes out of sort of collective suffering. And we find,
is it a part of that whole keep calm, carry on thing? You know, no matter what.
I think it's just we just kind of make jokes about it and move on. Like I you know, all the like so as an example of a very sort of UK joke or an English type of joke or something that may not translate as well in other countries. So I played the show to my uncle. And I asked him to give his honest feedback, and you know, he knew that lots of hard work went into it, and he said, I tried listening to it, but I hated everybody and I just wanted them all to go away. I burst out laughing at that because of, you know, the situation and what would be expected. And, you know, I was happy you listened. I mean, it's probably not the best thing when I'm promoting a show to tell her that my uncle doesn't like it, wants everybody to go away.
So Francis, in closing, because I've enjoyed this conversation and I want to have you on again more often. All right. So 2 questions. Okay. One, the first being, I was reading a story. Piers Morgan might run for prime minister. And number 2, I want to talk about your podcast, the Purgatory podcast.
Absolutely.
And then I want to have you on again. But first, let's start with the Piers Morgan thing. I
have not read this.
Is it just a bunch of talk?
Actually, this is the first time I've heard of it. I mean, everyone's saying they're running for parliament at the moment, and
I mean, he would be like the Donald Trump, right? Like, I mean, if you're going to make a comparison, I'm not saying Piers Morgan is the same person as Donald Trump, but to have a guy like Piers Morgan be the guy in charge, I mean, it would make things pretty damn interesting, in my opinion.
I don't think it will happen. Hopefully our government will get their act together, because I now know that Biden. I watched the inauguration with Biden being sworn in, and was very moved when your vice president was sworn in as well. I thought that was a wonderful thing to see.
It's all smoke and mirrors, buddy. I mean, nothing's going to change. Like, I mean, look, Biden's good for the country, better in my opinion than Trump. But for the average American citizen like myself and the people that I know, the only people that it matters who the president is here in the United States is the rich and the elite and the powerful. Nothing's going to change for us. You know, everybody looks, and I don't want people to think that I'm running down America. I mean, I think it's the most American thing that you could ever think of is to want better for the country. So what I'm saying is, yes, it's better, but, you know, is anything ever going to really change? No, because we have the lobbyists here that are putting money in the pocket of the politicians. So they really don't give a damn about us here either.
I guess is why it's much more happier for me to go inside my little fiction world and
so tell people
wait it all out.
So tell people about the podcast. I want people to check it out because absolutely. I got to tell you, from talking to you, you are a very confident person. You're very well spoken.
It's all face value.
Well, yeah. I mean, you put on a good show like myself. So tell people about the podcast.
So Purgatory is a drama podcast with a professional cast recorded from across the UK, and no one's left their own homes. They've all done it using the internet. It's about what affects you as a teenager and how it shapes your adult identity. The storyline. Is it a
play or is it a discussion?
It's a drama. It's a play.
It's a drama. Okay. Because you know what I've learned about the Brits, because I would listen to all the Doctor Who audio things that they would do. They love doing audio plays and stuff.
I have a recommendation for you.
Okay, but let's hear about yours first.
Yeah, no worries. So the storyline is two friends try to build their broken friendship by writing a script about their troubled school days. There are two narratives, one in the present and one in the past, and we go seamlessly between the two. And each episode covers a different aspect of present-day life and teenage life as well. And then there's also this overarching story where the people who you think are good to begin with turn out to be bad. The people who are bad turn out to be good.
Is there anything... Is there anything from your personal life based in these characters?
Loads. Absolutely loads.
Okay.
So one of the characters is actually based on me. I called Peter, who lets Dawson's Creek guide his everyday decisions, because that's what I did as a teenager.
I just saw James Van Der Beek on an episode of Law and Order SVU. You were bringing up Dawson's Creek. I was
absolutely. Like, he was brilliant in Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23.
Did you ever watch Rules of Attraction?
I did. I saw that last week in my little research.
You know that's related to American Psycho. You know,
yes,
right?
Bret Easton Ellis. It's his second book, wasn't it? And it's now been celebrated a lot more than when it came out. It was absolutely trashed when it came out by critics, and now
Christian Bale's to like it. You know, Christian Bale's character was Patrick Bateman. And
his brother, wasn't it?
Yeah, James Van Der Beek's last name in that movie was Bateman as well.
Absolutely.
Too.
It was. It's this sort of engrossing film about alienation in college years and not feeling in touch with reality, to the point that it becomes some form of psychosis. Like, and it really sort of resonated where, and I love the idea of becoming so introspective that it becomes a delusion, that they can't see outside their own fog. But yes,
And now, Francis, listen, I want to make sure I get all the plugs in because, like, I've been very multitasking today and my phone is about to die. I want to make sure I get all your plugs on, but I definitely want to have you back on the show. So once again, I think I have 3% battery power. So
okay, let's go.
Tell people once again, Francis, how they can check out your stuff. And I want to definitely have you on again because my third most popular downloaded country for my podcast is the UK. So I'm looking for that UK correspondent that can come on as a guest to talk about the UK because I want to build an audience there.
Fair enough. Okay, so the show is available on iTunes. It's available on Spotify and other podcast directories. I'll send you all the social media links so you can put them into...
Do they let you guys get on iHeartRadio in the UK?
Yeah, I think it's on iHeartRadio. It's on Audible US somehow. I didn't click anything to make that happen, but now my show's on Audible US as well. So if you do have an Audible account, you can access Purgatory the Drama podcast. It's on Audible US. But the big two are obviously iTunes and Spotify, and there are 6 episodes, and the 7th one, which will be coming out in a couple of weeks' time, will be a musical episode, which I have just finished writing today.
Well, Francis, if you need any voice actors, I can do it over Zoom. If you want an American voice, you can make fun of my Southern accent. You know, I'm down for that.
I had a friend who just wanted to be a shopkeeper in the universe, not having an actual name or anything. He wanted to be a shopkeeper who was the ghostwriter of Smash Mouth. That was his story. We've got another actress coming in to play a new character who's going to be an American character because about 36% of our listenership are American. So we've got an American character called Mandy who's coming in to join the core cast. But everyone's done a really hard job. Everyone's done work for free. They use the guys with IMDb pages. They are absolute pros. We do it because we love it. It's a fun thing we do in between takes and in between paid jobs. And check it out. Absolutely, please do.
Well, Francis, I enjoyed this interview, and I'm serious. I wanna have you on
just
as
let
my
me know.
Yeah, I wanna have you as my UK correspondent, Francis. I enjoyed this, man, and I hope you're doing well, and I hope you stay safe. Okay, my friend.
You too, mate. Take care.